Malachi Toney. You thought I was going to start off with Carson Beck. We're talking about a 17-year-old that went for 6 catches, 82 yards against one of the most dominant man defenses that we have seen in a long time in Notre Dame. Miami looked fantastic, man. Miami looked like they belonged. Miami seemed like a program that was more balanced. The problem that Miami had just last year was an analogy that I've made many times when talking about Miami. Miami last year was just LSU, just a year prior. A Heisman level quarterback and an incredible offense that just could put up points any drive that they wanted. The problem being both Jaden Daniels and Cam Ward knew every single time they walked across that field for warm-ups and had to go into that locker room for whatever entrance, home or away, that they had to be in, it was going to have to be a 40-point out. Their defenses were not going to stop anything. It was Swiss cheese across the board. LSU, they took about 2 years to get their defense back in check. What's more impressive, it sounds like Miami has completely flipped the script on their defense. New defensive coordinators, new refresh secondary. This defense looked like a problem. More specifically, Ruben Bain. Welcome back, Ruben Bain, everybody. This man was a home wrecker, game wrecker, whatever you want to call it. Ruben Bain was incredible to watch. We're talking about a guy that, by PFF grades, and take what you want with a grain of salt when we talk about PFF grades, I promise you, I'm taking it with a grain of salt. It's more funny to see this number that one of the tackles for Notre Dame had a 10 pass blocking grade. A 10? Are we kidding? Carson Beck looked incredible. And what leaves me a couple questions with Miami is, I guess, can you take this momentum and carry it to Florida? Because Florida's got this game circled tenfold. We'll get to this game when we do in a couple weeks when we actually get to preview it and predict it. But you have to remember, and for people that don't follow college football year round, I remember this, that Miami beat down Florida in the swamp. Not only did they beat down on Florida, this was the introduction of Cam Ward. Not only was it the introduction of Cam Ward, you had your own players going up to Florida recruits saying, hey, come here. You're going to the wrong Florida school. We just beat down on the team that you're visiting. Come to Miami. So Florida's got this circled. And so what is this defense that's revamped against a Notre Dame's offense that, take it with a grain of salt, truthfully, wise men make observations in week 1. Fools make predictions and takes and change everything that they thought they knew about college football after week 1. Just because Miami's front seven looked incredible against Notre Dame doesn't mean it's going to look incredible against Florida. But what makes me confident about Miami for the rest of the year is the fact that Carson Beck looked like he was having fun for the first time in what feels like a year and a half. Listen, I was not one to hop on the Carson Beck hate train. I thought a lot of people are just picking and choosing on a lot of narratives and storylines around him. I understand there's screenshots out there. If you really want to learn about the Carson Beck, burnerverse, you can go learn about that. You could talk about the Cavender twins. I want to talk about football around here. And Carson Beck looked like he was enjoying himself. He looked like a guy that was a part of a team that he wasn't a part of 365 days ago. That's a true leader and impact, a guy that has been accepted. Maybe it didn't work out in Georgia. Maybe he wasn't built for the yes soldier, Kirby Smart type of stoic quarterback that he looks for. Maybe he fits better with Miami because he sure does play like it. 20 for 31, 2 touchdowns, no picks. Played on time and in rhythm. Yeah, Notre Dame looked like a team that was about to choke away a 14-point lead late in this game. And that's just because Notre Dame, and we'll get to Notre Dame right now, they have the same MO that they did last year. Notre Dame is eerily similar on the offensive side of the ball of what we saw last year. A team that is never going to stop fighting. They're never going to stop. You have to finish the job for all 4 quarters, or Marcus Freeman and this team is going to continuously chip away until they have an opportunity. They did it in the national championship. They did it all across the playoffs. That's what this Notre Dame team can do. CJ Carr went 19 of 30, 2 touchdowns and a pick. Take it with a grain of salt. That's the third time me saying that. But honestly, that was not the best passing performance. That was as much as what we talked about on the show before, where we were like, can CJ Carr be a threat to where that front seven doesn't get stacked and they can't just dominate the rushing attack? Notre Dame's not going to win football games if they're running for 93 yards, which they did on Sunday. The fact that Jeremiah Love got 10 carries is egregious, because I'm not expecting CJ Carr to go throw for 400 passing yards, 3 touchdowns against that Miami defense. That's not what I was expecting. What I wanted from CJ Carr was to be a threat enough that he could be a dynamic quarterback that can maybe scramble a little bit. He showed that, but be a threat enough in the passing attack where it opens up the lanes for Jeremiah Love. And it took way too long for Notre Dame to realize, oh, maybe we could just dump it down. Maybe we could just do a couple screen passes, get him involved, knowing that he's our best player on offense by far. I don't get that. I really don't get that by the coaching staff. Because a guy like Jeremiah Love, who, mind you, hurdles way too much. There's other moves in the skill set that you could potentially run, Jeremiah. It doesn't have to be just hopping over everybody. I think he tried it like 3 times in this game. Now, unfortunately for my team, Texas A&M, Notre Dame gets to go on a bye week in week 2, which schedule makers in college football, that makes no sense. It bothers me tenfold because it's my team. But now Notre Dame gets to go watch A&M play Utah State, which we're not going to preview and predict that game. You know how that game's going to go. But week 3, you get Marcel Reed coming into town. What is this Notre Dame offensive line going to look like against Mike Elko, who's going to throw a lot of exotic blitzes? He's going to throw a couple guys in there. Can they bounce back? I don't think that A&M has the front 7 of a Miami with a guy like Ruben Bain, who I think is going to be a top 5 player in his class. But can they fix the offensive line moving forward? Because that's going to stop all type of playoff talk in South Bend if they can't fix that. Their defense is going to be fine. Their defense had really good moments. I think they just ran into a veteran quarterback that clicked with wide receivers at an unprecedented level. We're talking about Malachi Toney, 6 catches, 82 yards, 17 years old. Not to mention CJ Daniels with the catch of the year in week 1. I think we can say that was the catch of the year. Some of the most beautiful screenshots I've ever seen of him in the air, Odelling it. It was beautiful.